what I see is a lot of times people kind of start with a brain dump of ideas in Figma, and then when they try and move it into Bravo, it gets quite messy. And actually, what I really like about what you've done with TripMix is kind of lay out things in a very structured way, so it's easy for multiple people to work on it. And I think it makes it easier to work on it. And I think what would be nice is to kind of what I'd like to do is share that with the community and say, look, this is when you're thinking about using Bravo, there's a few things that can really help to make progress so you don't get in a big mess. So would you mind just spending a few minutes just talking through what you've done with TripMix and why you did it? Maybe some things that you learned about that process, because I think that would be really helpful to kind of share with people.
Sure. Yeah. So let me share my screen and I can go through it. All right. Using the Figma file, right?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, so this is the file that's connected to Bravo, and basically what I did here is I split the file into different pages. So what we have here are some things that we archived in this page, then a little design system with some of the components that we are reusing for the app, and some other miscellaneous things, but mainly what we care about is this page, which is the Bravo build. And here, what I did is I split this page into different sections based on basically on the different flows or set of screens that the user can go through. So this is a more logical way of splitting the designs for me, because it makes sense as a user as well. So some examples, what I have here is, for example, here we have the feed. So this is everything related to the feed. So for example, we have some loading states, we have the feed screen, we have the pop-up for you to search, which is accessible from the feed, some search results screen. So that's a bit all of the screens related to the feed. Then here we have the screens related to the trip. So we have in TripMix, we have a trip detail screen, which is composed of different subscreens, right? So we also have some models or pop-ups that are related to the trip experience or flow. So we have everything under this, and so on. I think the main need for this kind of layout or organization came from the fact that we were already a couple designers collaborating on the UI that I then had to Bravorize, and yeah, that made it a bit more necessary for us to have a certain process. So basically, we started by having a place where we would have everything that's final, that's reflecting what's on production, and then everything else goes into like all the explorations or sketches or designs that didn't make it through. We go to a different page or a different part in this file, and this way, I think it really helped us visualize everything, have always like a source of truth of what's in production, and yeah, I can go more into detail into the different flows.
So one question I got here. So you're using skip tags on the pages to skip the pages you're not interested in, and then you're letting the one that's not skipped to be this. So this, in theory, is everything that's going through to Bravo. And can we just turn on prototyping so people can see? Because I think the other thing that's helpful about this is, I think you're grouping together the pages that are, as well, there's quite a lot that goes on when you have a prototyping, you have a Bravo application. And I think that you tend to, because these pages are grouped in approximate functional areas, they're mostly grouped around the interactions between each other. Like, for example, when there's a search page and going back, it's next to the page where it's related to. So, you're not having to go halfway across the screen for most of the things. Generally, if you're leaving that sort of section, that's what the navigation is for, right? That's kind of how you've kind of grouped the pages together to make it more easy to kind of manage.
Yeah, exactly. Because as I said, like everything that's related to one screen, it's usually hosted by the same group. So exactly, that makes it easier, because if I had this screen, for example, like on the other side of the canvas, that would mean that I would be like jumping around the whole file, and that's, yeah, operational wise is not the best.
And then the other thing is, I just noticed, so I was trying to figure this out. For each section where you've got a title, you've got a skip tag, but I guess you've done that because otherwise that title would be fed into the actual Bravo application. So you've kind of had to skip the things where you're labeling. So you're just letting the actual screens go in, right? That's the thing we have to also, people have to bear in mind. If you do the labeling, which is really helpful to have people understand what's going on, you will need to skip that part so that people don't, so it doesn't going to go, well, it doesn't create a bit of a mess in Bravo.
Exactly. So we don't want any of these elements, right, getting fetched by Bravo. So we have here, well, basically this is just one big section composed of all these things with including the black background that you see. And you can see here, this is the section. And basically I added the skip tag, as you say, also blocked this, so it's always fixed. And then what you can actually play with here is just the screens, and this is all the screens that we want. Like we only want these screens to be passed to Bravo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice. So, are there any other sort of tips that you would say about working like this that's you've kind of discovered in this process? I mean, I think, to my mind, this would solve a lot of problems that people have are getting stuck or lost. You know, often we see people, they mix the prototype with Bravo, or they mix other ideas with Bravo. And I think what you've done here is really separate out what the Bravo pieces are from, your experiments or your other things. You keep on separate pages, so you don't have that mixed bag of things. I mean, I've been in some designs where the prototype or the idea was right next to the Bravo page where they've replicated them, and I've ended up editing the wrong one because you don't have that clear separation. I mean, the beauty of Figma is you have all these different ways of doing things, and I think what I've seen is you generally need to put a little bit of structure in if you're using it in production. Otherwise, you can get in a big mess. Is that fair? I mean, is that the sort of things you've seen?
Yeah. That's exactly what happened to me as well. So especially if you are like developing this by yourself, you might have your own method and your own chaos that works for you. But yeah, especially if you get other people to collaborate or to look at it might just be to look at what you're doing or what the production app looks like, or you need some sort of order. And for me, like, it happened so many times that I also in the beginning edited the wrong screen because it was just like sitting next to the production screen. And I think that just makes everything way more difficult. So now another tip that I would probably give is, we started a while ago working in this basically Sprint framework, and what we did to adapt it to Bravo is we created a different app that's only testable by, like, internally, so it's only available for us, and we created that in Bravo Vision. So everything we do, all the explorations, all the user testing, all that we do it in a different file. And once we are sure that that's ready and that's good to go, we then move it here. And that way we clearly separate the two environments or the two phases. And that also really helped keeping everything structured and in order.
And I guess it's super easy, right? You can just literally copy it from, so that, I guess that's in a separate Figma file, right? Where you've got experimentation. So you have a separate, actually, you can copy in the screens that you've experimented on with a piece of design, and you can just drop them into the right screen and it's ready to go. I mean, I guess it's nice because you can really leverage the power and the flexibility of Figma
Right.
without having to, build a whole new system. I mean, it's like Figma gives you the tools to do that as long as you put the structure in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly
and I
right.
guess, and then so what? Just you're saying here. So is this the design system that's in production, or the
right? So
the assets?
I wanted to touch on this. So basically here, what I have in a different color, and so it feels and looks different. This is basically the assets that Bravo needs for different components. So for example, the logo, instead of it being mixed up with the other screens, we have it here under the assets, or we have different tags or labels or chips that we use for different things. So that's all in here. Or reusable components that we wanna be sure we replicate across the app. We have them here. So this is just grouping all that. And then there are some things that might be more of a miscellaneous group of things, which is, so maybe there are some screens that we ended up discarding for some reason, but we might look at them later on. So we don't want to lose them, and we don't want to, well, we could probably create another file for that, but I think if it's kept in context in here and hidden, that's helpful. And yeah, I mean, this is just a system that works for me or for us, for the team, but yeah, could be any sort of layout that you
No, I think this idea of like trying to group things together and labeling them, so that particularly, as you say, I think it's particularly important when you have more than one person working. And the whole part, really, the benefit of Figma comes from having multiple people getting involved in design and making changes. But you obviously need to create some structure to it, because otherwise you can be changing things in production if you're not careful. And that's the kind of the blessing and the curse of Bravo, is that you can change things without realizing it. So you need to have some sort of control over it. And a lot of that control comes from, making sure it's done the right way in Figma. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you very much, Juan. I just wanted to kind of get your insight when I saw the great design that you did. So I will share this with the community and again, hopefully get some feedback from it as well.
Awesome. Thank you.